Jazzcast Pros.
If you struggle with emotional regulation, a fancy term for understanding your emotions, controlling your emotions, reacting to your emotions in a healthy way. If you struggle in that regard, whether you have BPD or some other mental health disorder or condition, DBT is a great way to be able to develop skills and use the skills to be able to be more in touch with you and your emotional state. And acknowledging my fear, acknowledging my concern for my health, acknowledging that, I am experiencing some crazy shit, man. I don't know, it's wild. And I don't know how to function in this space. And so I'm using this opportunity because I am dealing with a whole bunch of emotions to learn how to respond in a way that is healthy, because it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. Welcome to Healthy Illness, the podcast that helps you build better relationships while living with mental health conditions. I am your host, Kelly Marie, and I live with mental illnesses. I live with borderline personality disorder. I live with clinical depression. I live with general anxiety. And so being here, sharing my life and all of the tools and my stories and all that stuff, I do that in order to, one, help you know that hope is possible, that healing is possible, that recovery is possible. When you look at what the definitions and the signs and symptoms of those disorders are, they're debilitating, right? But I've been able to do a lot of work, like a whole lot of work, in order to be functional, hold down a job, have a fantastic career, and have healthy relationships. And so part of it is not just healthy relationships, but healthier. Like, we can always be better. We can always grow. And that's a part of the journey. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for liking and sharing the podcast. Thank you for your comments and your emails. If you don't have the email to reach out to me, feel free to send me your thoughts and ideas to frontseatlife@gmail.com. Do you know how to reach me on IG and Facebook? So Front Seat Life on Instagram and on Facebook. So subscribe and share and do all of those things. So the last time we were together, though, we were talking about DBT, and it's a type of therapy that was created for people like me that live with BPD, borderline personality disorder. And I was sharing this incredible workbook that I have, and it's helping me dive back into my feelings. I have done a lot of work over the years, and by no means do I want you to think I got all my stuff together and everything works out every time. And it just doesn't. But I have the tools to use and implement to be able to not be too self-destructive, and to not be too critical, and to give myself grace in learning how to do things differently and learning how to be better and be a better me each day. It works sometimes, and sometimes it eventually works. One of the pluses to this journey is that you get to see the growth, you get to see the change, you get to see where and how you're different compared to, who you were yesterday, who you were 10 years ago, who you were earlier today, even. Because we have these moments, these epiphanies, these times when, we could say, aha, look at that thing that I learned, or man, I handled that situation differently. I used the tools, I made my checklist, or I stopped to evaluate my emotions, and I'm able to handle this new thing or handle this old thing in a different way that's maybe more productive. And so I wanted to kind of jump back to our last time together and focus a little bit more on emotional regulation, because that's one of the areas that I struggle with. I have become a very analytical person in order to better understand and better grow and better function, because my initial emotional reaction to things wasn't very helpful and wasn't very productive and got me into trouble. But one of the things that I've learned is whatever is happening is going to come out, right? So whatever you're feeling is going to come out. So even though I have this analytical, mind to be able to understand my surroundings and understand my relationships, it's still necessary for me to understand my emotions and to begin to feel them in a way that is not harmful to me or to others. And I've reached the point in my journey that I'm able to go back and start doing some more emotional work because I've been able to make it this far along the path of recovery. We are always learning, we're always growing, and so wherever you are is okay. Whatever you're going through, however you're responding right now, listen, it is what it is. And so what we can do together and what you can learn to do is, one, understand that recovery is possible and having a hope for tomorrow and maybe the day after tomorrow. But for right now, right, just having hope in tomorrow that tomorrow can be better can help you get through today. So I shared the book last week on emotional regulation by Marsha Linehan. She's the founder of all things DBT. And I have that workbook that I love. I've gotten it recently in the last couple months and have begun to use it to better understand my emotions. But one of the books, or not one of the books, the actual book that my therapist recommended is this book here, the Dialectical Behavior Therapy Skills Workbook. And this one has exercises in it as well. What I like about it and wanted to share with you is they give you the worksheets to be able to do the work yourself, but also they give you scenarios, just like regular real life stuff that happens. And they show you how to use the worksheets based upon the scenarios. Because sometimes we don't know how to answer the question if you've never asked the question or never asked yourself that question before. So one of the things on this recognizing your emotions worksheet, they have the opportunity so you can use this over and over again. You can use a journal, you can just use a piece of paper, post-it note, whatever you have to be able to use the worksheet. And so what you can do with the worksheet is read the story that comes before it, and they tell you how to use it. And then they show you how to answer the questions based upon the scenario. So now you can look at the scenario, look at how the questions were answered, and then take a scenario from your life, right? And apply the same principles to you evaluating yourself and how you responded. It's really a great opportunity to be introspective if you struggle with emotional regulation, a fancy term for understanding your emotions, controlling your emotions, reacting to your emotions in a healthy way. If you struggle in that regard, whether you have BPD or some other mental health disorder or condition, DBT is a great way to be able to develop skills and use the skills to be able to be more in touch with you and your emotional state. Once upon a time, I would be unable to express anger. It was expressed in a physical way, and it's not healthy. I found myself in fights, in trouble. I feel like a lot, probably not a whole lot, but I found myself in trouble, and something had to give. I saw myself in situations that I didn't want to be in. I could see what my future held for me if I didn't get help. And so what my brain did was, in an attempt to protect itself, began to compartmentalize and put things in buckets and in containers, mental containers, so that as I was living through a thing, It's a trauma response, but living through a thing, I was able to cope and make it through that thing by putting the emotional piece of it in this container to process later, right? And so what would happen is another emotional thing would occur, and I would put the emotion in the container and put it up on a mental shelf to process later, only allowing myself the opportunity to respond in a logical way. And I still do it. I think it has been a gift and less of a curse, but it allows me to function. I have certain people that I don't put all the emotions in the container with, and those are my safe spaces. And they know that. And not everybody has, people that they can turn to in that way, but I'm thankful that I do. But what began to happen, and it still happens, I'm working through it, is I would only allow myself to experience outwardly positive emotions. So laughter, happiness, things that, funny, things that are funny, things that brought other people joy, not necessarily me, because I didn't know what joy was or how to experience joy. Those were the things that I allowed myself to experience the emotional piece of. I also allowed myself to experience sadness, in being empathetic and understanding other people's emotions. I am good at that, but not so much good at my own emotions and allowing myself to feel, to cry, to hurt, to be frustrated, to be angry, to be upset, to be, name it, one of those emotions. So DBT is allowing me to go back and experience things again that I've experienced in the past. So playing off of memory and trying to identify the emotions that occurred with that particular event, seeing if I could go back to that mental shelf and pull the emotion off the shelf and open up the container and see what was in there. It's allowing me to do some of that. And I do that with my therapist, and also in connection with, things like this workbook. As I'm processing new things, as I'm processing what's happening now in my life, I'm able to use the skills and tools to allow myself to feel the emotions. So right now I'm going through this physical change where my spine, I'm going through some issues. I'm having issues walking, long story short. And so I've had some tests and there's some things going on that are not great. Instead of focusing on the negatives, instead of focusing on the what ifs, I'm able to see the positives in the process and going to the doctor and understanding where I am right now and getting the tests done that I need to get done. And so, in being able to understand what I'm going through with the issues that I'm facing, I have to be able to give myself and function in a space of grace and acknowledging my fear, acknowledging my concern for my health, acknowledging that, I am experiencing some crazy shit, man. I don't know, like, it's wild. And I don't know how to function in this space. And so I'm using this opportunity because I am dealing with a whole bunch of emotions to learn how to respond in a way that is healthy.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Rob. Yes, I am the host of Father Torch. I would like to take this time to invite you in my discussions on very, very important topics of being a Black and brown father in today's society. Being a parent, the other parent, we face trials and tribulations too. We have worries, we have feelings. Here at Father Torch, we promote the advocacy of being the dad you wish you had. Join me at fathertorch.com
If you've been thinking about starting a podcast and you want to include interviews with people across town, Riverside.fm offers unbelievable high-quality recordings regardless of your or your guest internet quality. And it also gives you separate audio and video tracks for each person speaking. And unlike Zoom, you don't have to install anything on your computer, and your guests don't either. Head over to riverside.fm and use promo code JazzyCast to get 60 free minutes of recording and 15% off a membership plan.
I had to go to a conference earlier in the week, and it was for the 9 to 5. And I dropped my napkin. It slid off on my lap. And so I was trying to pick up my napkin, but I can't really bend over. So I was trying unsuccessfully to pick it up. And my colleague sitting next to me, she noticed what was happening. And this was like my big debut walking with the cane. And she's like, "What are you doing? Did you drop your napkin?" I'm like, "Yeah." So she grabbed it for me and just, gave it to me discreetly on the side of we're sitting next to each other. So she just put it in my hand. But I started crying. Like in that moment, something is so simple as being able to pick up a napkin, I wasn't able to do. Not being able to wear shoes that required me to bend down, and not just shoes, sneakers, and putting on socks. There are so many basic things that I have taken for granted, but just the expectation of the body functioning the way it's supposed to function. And so even right now, I'm trying to place the emotion that I feel, because it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of plans that I've made for the summer that I don't know what that's going to be like. I don't know if I have a small circle of friends, and real small. And not only do I not want to be a burden to them, which I feel like they wouldn't think that is the case, but I have total FOMO, right? I'm so afraid of missing out on all the things that I like to do, or all the things that we have planned to do. I don't know if I'll be able to go hiking again, or I don't know if I'll be able to ride my bike again. And everybody's being really optimistic, but I don't know that my physical health is going to change enough for me to be able to do that stuff again. And it's one of those times that I am kind of thankful that I like laying around the house and watching TV, as much as I like, hiking and riding my bike and doing fun things, because that may be my life, right? And how do I don't know. So in feeling these feelings of fear, of possible abandonment, right? I don't even know what tomorrow is going to bring, but because of my past, and because of, relationships that I've had in the past, all types of relationships, right? Now, I'm not talking intimate relationships, but will they still be there? I don't know that. But what I am working on is living in the present moment. We talk about mindfulness, right? Taking a deep breath, noticing all of the things around you, the things that I see, the things that I smell, making the connection to the present moment, because all of the emotions are tied up in things that I don't even know if they're going to happen, right? It's in the future. Will this thing occur this way? I don't know, right? But when I allow my mind to go in that direction, it's a rabbit hole, right? And there's a difference between understanding what the future may hold and living in a place that has not occurred yet. And so this conversation now is going in two directions. One, understanding mindfulness, and you just saw me work through being present, thinking about and explaining to you what is happening in my life. You saw me go down this road of what happens in the future, what happens to these plans that I have. And you saw me bring it back. So mindfulness works. Mindfulness does not take away the emotion or doesn't allow you, it doesn't not allow you to feel the thing that you're going through, but it allows you to see the present moment and what it is and what you can do in this moment versus focusing on something that has not occurred yet. It may or may not occur. So there's that piece, which is also a part of DBT. If that is a place where you struggle, I always learning more when it comes to mindfulness. It is also a journey, but DBT is a great place to be able to pick up those skills, and you don't have to, have a mindfulness coach, although I am a mindfulness coach. You don't have to, go to a class. You don't have to, do all these extra things. You can totally do those things. They work for me anyways, right? But you can go to YouTube and download a mindfulness app. You can download a journal for you to be able to process your feelings. You can grab a book like this one, and then they'll be in the show notes that will help you and guide you through this process. You can have a therapist help you and guide you through this process. There's lots of ways to be able to learn the skills and implement the skills so that you are, one, addressing your emotional needs. For example, the fear that I have is rational. Like that is a logical reaction to the situation that I find myself in. In owning that fear, at the same time, not letting it trap me in the emotion, feeling it and letting it go, and try not to go back there, right? And so the mind may go back there, and I know and have learned that it is okay to pause and take a moment and bring myself back to the present moment. That is all DBT, which is absolutely incredible.
Hey, if you like this episode, check out Getting Real with Bossy, where we chat about what it's like to be a woman business owner.
You'll hear interviews with women who are doing what it takes to succeed and the reality of what that looks like.
We cover all the topics, figuring out the rules and regulations, navigating business partnerships,
Even if that's your spouse, motherhood while running a business, working within your values,
and all the ups and downs of being the boss.
Are you ready to get real? Pop over to our podcast, Getting Real with Bossy.
Fantastic.
So I have spent too much time talking today, but I wanted to take some time and really talk a little more about emotional regulation and how it works and what you're able to do with it. I did not intend for you to see it in action, but you did get to see mindfulness and emotional regulation in action. And the journey is real. Healing is possible. Recovery is real. It is possible. And it takes time. One of the things, and I'll leave you with this, in the intro to the book, it says, there is hope. Life is hard. You already know that, right? Like we know that, right? So life is hard. You already know that, but you're not stuck or helpless in your struggle with your emotions. If you really do the work to implement the skills when it comes to DBT, you can expect that your reactions to feelings will change. That's because regardless of genetics or early pain and trauma, the key skills you learn when it comes to DBT can affect the outcome of every conflict, and every upset can literally alter the course of your relationships. There is every reason to hope. All you have to do is turn the page and begin, then keep working on it. So all you have to do, and not just with this book, but in life, is turn the page and begin and keep working at it. That's what healthy illness is. That's what life is. That's what learning is turning the page and keeping at it. The struggle is real too. And each page may not be pretty, but it's a part of the journey. It's a part of the walk. And I encourage you to pick up wherever you are and turn the page. and keep working at it. So until the next time, as always, be the light. But if you need someone to talk to, please dial 988 on your phone, or you can text 988 to reach a crisis counselor who is there to chat. They're there to talk. Feel free to reach out. It's free, it's confidential, and it's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without bail. If you are looking for resources, you can try 211. That's a national network of human services resources. And then if you are someone that you are around and care about, love, is experiencing a medical emergency, please dial 911 and let them know if it is related to mental health, that you believe that it is a mental health crisis. Healing is possible. It's possible. Until next week, be the light.
Girl, where have you been? I haven't seen you at work in a while.
Girl, I quit and started my own business.
Really? That's amazing. How did you do it?
Well, I've been listening to this Beauty Boss Millionaire podcast, and it really helped me change my mindset from an employee to a CEO.
All that from a podcast?
Yes, the Beauty Boss Millionaire walks you through the process of starting a business and making your first million.
I need that in my life. I need someone to help me.
Just go to beautybossmillionaire.com or pull it up on your favorite podcast app. It's time to boss up.